Midnight Moon. Written by Suzana Thompson. Narrated by Sarah Sampino.
Chapter 13. I thought that Damien would be pissed that we hadn't waited for him, but he was oddly subdued after the party. Our meeting was finished long before he called me, and he had nothing negative to say about it. I had at least been expecting him to make a crack about Bryce calling his mommy, but he made no comment about it.
"Is Daphne okay?"
Damien asked. "She's really upset. I mean, we all are," I added. "But she used to be friends with Kristen in elementary school. I drove her home after Bryce left."
"Good,"
he said.
"She needs to rest."
"Yeah," I agreed. "So did you keep an eye on Kristen? How did she seem?"
"Same as usual,"
he replied without elaborating. "Well," I said in a relieved tone, "at least you don't have to go through with your plan anymore now that we know for sure that she's the killer." There was a very noticeable pause before he spoke.
"That's exactly what she is."
"So," I began tentatively, "was she, trying to talk to you all night?" By talk I meant flirt, but I couldn't ask him that. Another pause.
"I'd rather not think about her,"
he said in a tense voice. "Yeah," I responded, even though she was all I could think about right now. "I understand."
"Well, I'll talk to you tomorrow,"
he told me. I was surprised how quickly he was ending our conversation after our shocking discovery about Kristen. "Oh, okay. Good night then,"
"Yeah,"
was his one-word response before he hung up. I sat there replaying the brief conversation in my mind. It didn't feel right. Damien had sounded practically emotionless through most of it, and that was very unlike him. It bothered me so much that I sent him a text message the next morning, before I even went downstairs for breakfast. I debated over what to write, and ended up deciding on a simple question. "How are you?" His immediate response was unexpected, since I'd assumed that he was still asleep.
"Can I see you?"
That simple message had a big effect on my mood. The day suddenly looked much brighter to me. "Come over for breakfast."
"Text me after you eat."
Damien was declining food? He'd even eaten my pizza when he was a wolf. I decided that he must have already eaten a big breakfast, which meant that he wasn't hungover. There had been no alcohol in sight at the party, but I didn't know if there had been drinking after his parents left. I texted okay in reply to Damien's text, and went downstairs to eat breakfast. It was only 8 o'clock, which was still early for a weekend morning, so my parents will still be asleep. I opted for a bowl of cereal because it was a quick breakfast. Not that I was in a rush to see Damien, because I wasn't. Okay, maybe a little. When had I started looking forward to seeing him? I debated whether to put on some makeup after brushing my teeth, but I decided that it was too early in the day for it. He might think I was trying too hard if I already had makeup on right after breakfast. I'd texted him immediately after I finished my cereal, so I didn't have long to wait as I stood near the window to watch for his car. He pulled into my driveway, but sent me a text asking if I could come outside, rather than getting out of the car and walking up to the door. He got out of the car and opened the passenger door for me as I approached him. "You can come inside," I told him.
"I'd rather talk in private,"
he said, looking at the ground as he spoke to me. This statement might have made me believe that he wanted to do more than talk, if he hadn't appeared so glum. I sat down in the passenger seat as my excitement was replaced by worry, while I waited for him to walk around to the driver's seat and sit down beside me.
"I can't do this anymore,"
he stated morosely. It sounded like he was breaking up with me, but we had never really declared ourselves a couple. "You can't do what?" I asked him directly.
"It's, senior year. It's the last year before college, and it's our last year to do stuff in high school. And you've got your own stuff going on, and I do too, so we should, do that,"
he rambled. "Damien," I said forcefully. "What are you saying?" He looked down at the steering wheel.
I don't want to deal with all this stuff anymore. Bryce has got it under control. He's called in people who have experience with this.
Bryce has it under control? I repeated incredulously. Just yesterday you were telling me that you don't trust him. Damien now looked up to gaze out the windshield.
You and Daphne pretty much confirmed his story.
He finally turned to face me.
It's his mess, so he should fix it. I'm tired of it.
You don't need to do anything, I agreed. But, why, I glanced away from him, unable to finish my question.
I'm sorry, Clarissa. I know that I'm the one who started this.
And now you're ending it, I guessed in a lifeless tone.
I like you,
he began.
I really do.
Don't do that, I said. Just don't. It's not like we were even—
There's something else,
he blurted.
Something happened. Last night.
My head whipped around to stare at him in apprehension. What happened? I stammered.
At the party,
he told me, looking like he was confessing a crime.
I, kissed Kristen.
I blinked at him uncomprehendingly.
We had a couple of drinks,
he continued.
And it just happened. With, the way she was dressed and everything, it was kind of like old times. Like the way my life used to be. And I guess I just really miss my old life.
Okay, I responded numbly.
I'm sorry.
He broke off, taken aback by my response.
Okay.
Yeah, I answered in a stronger voice and calmly opened the door.
Clarissa,
he called after me as I got out of his car. I ignored him and kept going without looking back at him. He didn't follow me, and I heard him start the car as I reached my front door. I assumed that he left, but I didn't check after I closed the door behind me. My parents were in the kitchen, cooking breakfast. I'm making bacon, Mom announced as I walked in. Where's Damien? I thought you were going to invite him inside. I did, but he had to go. He's got a lot of homework to finish, I explained.
I hope you're hungry,
Dad said.
Because we're making a feast.
I already ate, I told him. I'm going to take a shower. I went upstairs and put on my robe after I took my clothes off. When I removed it in the bathroom, I stood inspecting my neck in the mirror. The hickey had faded, just like Damien had said it would. It was like it had never been there in the first place. I stepped into the shower and turned on the water as hot as I could stand it. My mind was pleasantly blank as I stood under the spray of water, just focusing on the feel of it on my skin. After my shower, I decided to clean my room. Dusting and vacuuming were simple tasks that I could do on autopilot. So I continued on into the hall and downstairs. Mom came out of the kitchen to stare at me in wonder when she heard me vacuuming the living room. I shocked her several minutes later when I walked into the kitchen and volunteered to clean up everything after their breakfast. Who are you and what have you done with my daughter? Dad elbowed her.
Don't look a gift horse in the mouth. Let's just get out of her way.
I enjoyed cleaning in peaceful solitude until Taylor called me. Then I went upstairs to my room and shut the door. She informed me that Bryce's mom was coming to town the day before the full moon. I hope she has a plan, I remarked. If she does, she wasn't in the mood to tell Bryce about it. She's really mad at him because she didn't even know that he turned Kristen into a werewolf, Taylor explained. And now she finds out that Kristen killed Blair and turned Damien, and she's got this whole big mess to deal with. Yeah, it's a lot, I agreed. So what did Damien say? Taylor asked. Was he mad at us for having the meeting without him? No, I replied. He's okay with Bryce taking care of it. That's good, she exclaimed, pleased that he had accepted Bryce. Now we can all work together. Yeah, I said, because I just couldn't think of a way to tell her about Damien and Kristen. Hey, Did you ever ask Bryce why Kristen couldn't control Damien after she made him a werewolf?
Yes,
Taylor squealed. I wanted to wait for Damien to tell you himself, but I just can't hold it back. See, this power they have is very strong, and Bryce's mom warned him about it. She said it's wrong to take away someone's choices and make them do what you want. It's only for emergencies in case the werewolf loses control and tries to hurt someone. And it only lasts a few months, until the person hopefully adjusts to being a werewolf. Kristen must have adjusted really fast, I muttered. No, nobody breaks the connection that fast. She was a werewolf for less than 2 months, and he already couldn't control her anymore. He doesn't know how she did it. But anyway, she should have been able to control Damien after she turned him. The only way it doesn't work is if that person has chosen someone else, she told me excitedly. That's you, Clarissa. Damien chose you. If only she knew how wrong she was. Chose me for what? Chose you in his heart, she answered. That's the way Bryce told it to me. It means that he's in love with you. Someone sure had the wrong information, I thought darkly. So Kristen's in love with him. That's why Bryce lost his hold on her. No, Bryce said it has to already have happened before they turned for the bond not to work. He did have control over her at first, so she wasn't in love with anyone else. But she never had control over Damien, so he was already in love with you. And now he's not, I added silently. That's an interesting theory. Did you hear what I said? Taylor demanded. Damien is in love with you. Time will tell, I stated without emotion. Are you okay? Taylor asked. I know last night was worse for you and Daphne because you guys saw what she did. We didn't see it, I corrected her. We heard her thinking about it. You can do that? Taylor questioned. You can hear people's thoughts? No, I replied. Not most of the time. Only very rarely. You never told me about that, she complained. When else did it happen? Only once. I heard Daphne one time. Thinking about that reminded me what a player Damien had been. It was no surprise that he had gone back to his old ways. I should probably call her and find out how she is. I ended up texting her instead, because I didn't feel like talking to anyone else after I got off the phone with Taylor. Daphne wrote back that she hoped Bryce's mom had a solution for the problem with Kristen. I spent a mostly sleepless night wondering about that myself. How could anyone stop Kristen? If Bryce couldn't control her, then who could? What possible solution could there be? I saw the girl herself at school the next day, strutting around with Damien, making sure that everyone saw he was now with her. He had his arm thrown casually around her shoulders as she clung to him and gloried in the stares and whispers of their classmates. I watched him, and Kristen smirked at me while Damien avoided looking at me. Turning away, I walked to my next class, lost in my thoughts. Taylor was very upset when she sought me out later in the day. Did you hear about— Yes, I interrupted her. I can't talk about that right now. She regarded me in concern, her eyes filled with sympathy. Go to the nurse and tell her you have an upset stomach. Maybe she'll let you go home. I'm okay, I told her. I'm going to talk to him later. That— She spat the first part out angrily, but trailed off when she couldn't think of a word bad enough to describe him. I can't believe he— Later, I pleaded. Not here. I'll call you later when I get home. Yeah, she agreed in understanding. Sorry, I'm just so— I know, I said. I've got to get to class. Talk to you later. The day finally ended, and I drove straight to Damien's house after school. I parked next to the curb and waited for him in my car until he pulled into his driveway. His expression brightened momentarily when he saw me, before quickly souring. Where's your new girlfriend? I inquired. I know you don't understand, he began. Oh, I understand perfectly, I informed him. I just have one question for you. Did you really expect me to believe you're hot for Kristen after you just found out that she killed an innocent baby? A startled expression flitted over his face. He exhaled in exasperation.
You need to stay out of this.
I'm already in it, I reminded him.
Not anymore,
he told me.
She'll leave you alone now.
Damien, I pleaded. You don't have to do this.
Don't you get it? You're not safe. Not ever. I thought you would be until the full moon, but she kills even when she's not the wolf.
We have help now, I said. Bryce
hasn't done shit,
Damien exploded. He helped you fight her when…
Yes,
he agreed without letting me finish.
The first time she tried to kill you. But how many more times will she try? How many other people will she decide to kill? There's only one way to stop her.
You can't do that, I argued.
I have to,
he exclaimed.
I have to kill her before she kills anyone else.